What's up, everybody? Welcome back to 2nd Street. Here back again with another movie review, and today I've got a special guest. This is my friend Richard. Now, in case any of you don't know, my name is Trinity, and as I said, his name is Richard, and we're going to give you a movie review today of Cold Pursuit, Liam Neeson's new movie. We actually just got out of the movie theater and went and watched it, and that's what we're going to be talking about in this video, so stay tuned.
Lay around and watch TV, not doing much, it's a life for me. Could take a shower, cause I really think, but
Now, as I said, we just got out of the theater from watching Cold Pursuit, and in case you don't know, this movie stars Liam Neeson and really doesn't have a whole lot of other people in it aside from John Forsythe and just a bunch of supporting cast, really.
Right, he's the only one with a big name in it, currently.
Now, the one thing I wanted to say before we get off into too much is, one thing I didn't realize, once we got home and started looking up, I was looking up the director before we started doing this, because I never heard of the director before when I was watching the movie as the credits were rolling at the very beginning. And it's directed by a guy named Hans Zimmer, and you can check him out on IMDb. You know, we all know how reliable IMDb is, so make sure you check him out. Hans Zimmer, and I think he's a Norwegian director, as he's done a lot of movies that are
from
Norway.
Town.
Yeah,
he's from Ski Town.
He does a lot of skiing. You know what? I'm wondering if he was in Tonsberg, Norway. You know, when Red Skull came to get the Tesseract.
That's probably how he got his start.
Yeah, could be.
This is actually the second time he's filmed this movie. He filmed it in Ski Town language previously. And they liked it so much that they wanted it in English. So they got Liam Neeson.
Yeah, and you know, and that's kind of what makes me think that maybe this is tied into the MCU, because Stellan Skarsgard, I mean, he is Dr. Selvig, right? So, you know, I'm thinking there's something going on here. But yeah, like you said, there was an original. It was called what was it?
In Order of Disappearance.
In Order of Disappearance. You can find that on IMDb as well. See all who's in that.
And if you watch the trailer for that, it looks like they basically remade the movie shot for shot.
Shot for shot.
Almost exactly.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, it actually looks good. I was gonna say, it actually looks pretty good. And like I said, if you don't know who Stellan Skarsgard is, he's a phenomenal actor, okay? And he's actually done several movies with this director in the past. One of them being this, basically the original version of Cold Pursuit. And like I said, it looks like it's shot for shot the same. It's obviously in Norway, so it's in Norwegian. So I wouldn't understand what they're saying in the movie. But believe me when I say I will happily watch that movie anytime, because this movie was great. It was a fun movie, and this movie looks like the original looks like it would be just as fun.
Right. They did a good one on the revenge genre. I was a little bit concerned going into it that it was going to be too clunky with the humor, as you could see from the ads, but I think they did a good job with it. What do you think? Yeah,
definitely. You know, when I hadn't even heard of this movie until you actually sent me the link. You texted me the link to it and asked me if I wanted to go. And I finally broke down and I watched the trailer. I figured, yeah, we'll go watch it. I mean, do a review anyway. But I watched the trailer and I was like, oh great. Here we go with another Liam Neeson. You know, here we go with Taken Part 4.
Yeah,
you know,
Taken on Ice.
Yeah. And so, you know, and then I started watching the trailer, and I was like, wow, this movie actually looks pretty good. I mean, what you want out of a revenge flick, really. And that's kind of what the movie was. You got everything that you want in a revenge flick in this movie. It was entertaining. It really was.
Right, and they didn't get too, like I said, they didn't get too clunky. They didn't get too ridiculous with his killing. He didn't do...
Yeah, I'm not sure if you've ever seen the movie Death Sentence. It's kind of like that, you know, typical revenge kind of flick. Yeah, and yeah, things sometimes get taken a little over the top. And, you know, this one I think actually kind of seemed grounded. Reality-based, while it was still kind of ridiculous. I mean, there was some ridiculousness to it, but...
it's always ridiculous when people kill a bunch of people and don't get caught. So you've got to kind of do your suspension of disbelief.
Yes.
There. But he wasn't shooting cars and their gas tanks blowing up or anything silly like that. So it's got that going for it.
Yeah, and like I said, it definitely has a balance of a lot of elements in this movie that actually made it really good. I mean, for those of you who, if you don't like violent movies or anything like that, like the violence, I mean, you probably wouldn't want to go see this movie anyway. Why wouldn't
you like violent movies?
Yeah, some people don't like violent movies, and I get it. You know, if you don't like that, That's all fine, but you wouldn't be at this movie if you weren't here to see that. And there was a good balance of everything in this movie. There wasn't too much cheesiness. There was actually a pretty well written story around it, which kind of makes me want to see the original as well, because there's just certain elements in it. Like there's some really nice moments that take place in this movie, and just like any revenge flick, those are the kind of things that you need to care about the characters and get it grounded for them to want to go after revenge on somebody.
Right, and they spent just the right amount of time, I thought, on all the characters as far as introducing them and kind of letting you know what they were about. Even the police chief and the rookie, there was a nice little scene where they introduced them, and they did it just right. They didn't spend too much time, and they didn't rush through it too much, so you kind of get an idea of what they're about. And they did that with all the characters. They didn't spend too much time, and they didn't rush through it. They did just right. It was a very solid script.
Yeah, it really was, and that's a good point. When you want a good story, you definitely need well written characters, and I don't think they spent too much time developing all these characters more than they needed to for this type of movie. But they did it just enough to where it was perfect. Perfect example is the like some of the first characters we get introduced to was the cops in town. We see typical new cop in town, and then you got him paired up with the seasoned rookie. I mean, I guess it's like a buddy cop kind of movie.
Yeah,
scenes in there.
Seasoned rookie.
The seasoned rookie. Did I just say? Well,
the police chief and the rookie.
The seasoned rookie.
The rookie is wanting to just bust everybody, and the police chief is kind of letting her know that's not how we do things here.
The seasoned rookie.
We go after the big fish.
Yeah, and they set up a bunch of funny scenes about it too. Yeah, pretty funny scenes where they, like a couple of them too, and they're just kind of sprinkled throughout at the beginning, just setting that kind of scenario up. Where that exact kind of thing. You got the rookie cop who just wants to go around and bust everybody, and
you got the hero.
Yeah, and then you got the old guy with the experience saying, that's not how we do this. And actually there was some times in the movie where I felt, because of the way he went so lackadaisical about his job, that maybe he was going to be one of the bad guys or maybe in on it or something too. But no, he was just like a cop who's like, hey man, like we're just in this little ski town, and we're kicked back here. And which is another funny thing, the ski town. Here, I thought we were in Alaska or something, and
right. I walked into the movie for some reason from the trailers thinking it was taking place in Alaska, but apparently it took place in the other state in the country that has snow and mountains called Colorado.
Yes.
Don't know if you heard of it. It's around Denver.
Yeah, and beautiful scenery too. Beautiful scenery
right.
Throughout the movie, and and that was the funny thing too. Speaking of the scenery in the movie, there was some, like we were saying, shot for shot. They did a lot of this movie originally. We're watching the trailer for in the other movie, In Cold Pursuit, or No,
this is what we watched, In Cold Pursuit. The other one was called In Order of Disappearance.
In Order of Disappearance. Yeah, there's like a scene where they're driving into town. It's like the exact same shot. You wouldn't know that it's not Denver that you're driving into if you didn't. I mean, it was. I thought it was kind of funny, but yeah, there's a bunch of good scenery in this movie. And obviously that kind of played into the plot of the movie too. Really, it's just some of the little plot points they did, which was
I gotta say,
funny.
My biggest gripe with the film is that there were a number of scenes where he was working in a shop, and this is in the dead of the winter, and all the garage doors were open. Come on, no one does that.
Well, I kind of thought the same thing, but you can tell these people are obviously used to this kind of weather, because there's one scene. Well, I mean, spoilers, okay? Spoilers. There's one scene in here where after their son gets killed, and obviously we I guess we know that happens from the trailers, that their son dies. But you find Laura Dern outside running around just in the snow, just like in her socks and her underwear, basically, running around. I mean, she don't even look like she's freezing.
Well, it makes sense why she does it at the time.
And
by the way, kudos to Admiral Holdo for redeeming yourself after that last purple hair fiasco. You're good again, Laura. We like you now.
But I mean, but did you have to be smoking that doobie and then say you didn't know that your kid didn't do drugs? Come on.
They were just begging for that 80s commercial where they did the I Learned From Watching You, Dad. I thought that was going to play into it, but I guess they decided to take the high ground. And which is good. Like, this is what they did with this movie. They didn't go for the easy laughs and the clunky, over they didn't try too hard to be funny. It's just if it was something that happened to be funny, it was natural. And
definitely it was.
The way he killed people is the way you would actually, I assume, kill someone in the real world, not by, shooting a bullet that blows up the gas tank, like I said.
Yeah.
Or
and some of the comedy is in just like some of the little subtle things that happen. Because like I said, there's parts of the scenery, and there are parts of the scenery that kind of play into the plot of the movie, and it kind of makes you laugh.
Right. You know what else?
In parts, you see the same place over and over again. He keeps returning to dump these bodies, and I was laughing every single time. It breaks the tension. Right. It really broke the tension of the seriousness of what he's doing.
Mm-hmm. You know what I noticed they didn't do in this. I got to give them kudos for this also. Which you can correct me. We can go back and watch it again. Maybe they did do it, but they didn't do the saying a tough guy line right before you kill someone. They didn't do that.
No, not at all.
You would think that in a revenge film you'd do it at least once. I mean,
yeah. I mean, did they even really do it at all? I mean, there wasn't. I don't really recall any cheesy lines like that. Like where I was laughing because when it was killing time.
When it was killing time, it wasn't talking and being cool time. It was killing time.
Yeah, he was. I mean, it really held true to a revenge flick. This is what I would do. I wouldn't be out there trying to spout off some cheesy lines if I was out there trying to chase down a bunch of drug lords and kill them because they killed my son. Mm-hmm. I would be out doing exactly what this dude is doing, and he kind of has the perfect job for it too.
Saying "surfs up, dude,"
and the I don't know, like it was really well written. The character building, like I said, there was plenty of that going on, and like we said, as little as they did, there was. They planted enough seeds here where you kind of got to know and familiarize yourself with the characters enough that there's a scene that happens in the movie after the death of their son, and you could tell things are heading south really quick in this marriage after the death of their son. Just some of the little things that they do in there, and we get left with this blank note. His wife leaves him. He walks into the house, and the first thing you see when he walks into the house, you can tell the place is empty. And, he didn't catch on to it, oddly enough. The obvious things never stand out in these movies to these people. But he finds this note.
He was expecting an explanation, and it was just... Nope.
She left a note. You would think that it was the perfect backhand kind of gesture, really. Leaving a note, you're expecting to open it up, and there's nothing there. And... I guess it was kind of indicative of what was going on anyway. Like, you ain't got nothing to say.
Another spoiler alert. That was one of the other somewhat disappointing parts of the film was that there was no... Like, she left the movie and she was just gone. Like, there was no attempt at him to sort of contact her or her family or... that it just seems like...
It's kind of like the death of their son.
After 20 or 30, however many years of marriage, you're just kind of like, oh, she's just gone and...
Yeah, especially after the speech. Mm-hmm. After the speech that he gave, you even seen that in the trailer. Right. We talk about the speech. Right. He picked the right road. Right. And he picked the right road early.
No regrets. He's happy that he's with his wife, and people grieve in different ways, and we get that, and that's true. Stuff like this does happen when they lose kids and all that. But
definitely.
It seemed like there would have. I was expecting there to be something at the end.
Well, and the one thing I thought was good about that, I mean, just thinking about it now, is that even though that happened and it was kind of messed up, and I guess you've seen it coming a mile away, but he didn't dwell on it. You could tell it didn't look like he was upset. It didn't look like he was upset about it because he was probably grieving too. Obviously she was, but it didn't seem like he. Yeah,
he's focused.
Yeah, he was focused.
Like I said, he's not worried about one-liners when he's killing people. He's not worried about his wife when he's killing people. He's going to kill people.
He was out for blood, and
as he should have been.
And apparently it was a family business too. His brother was actually used to be in the business of being a gangster, I guess you could say. And his brother is played by William Forsythe. He's the only other big name in the movie. Right. And I mean, if you don't know who William Forsythe is, I don't even know what you doing on this channel. Okay, William Forsythe was great in this movie. I can't even remember the last thing that I seen him in, but.
I think it was great that they got him because he was in Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead, and he played kind of a similar role. I'll sign up for anything that he's in.
Definitely, and he came in he's not even a major character in this movie, but the things that he adds to the movie definitely. I mean, where William Forsythe kind of heads the movie, which is great.
Right.
You know, it's just like a John Candy movie. You know, like he just has this charisma about him. And then when you see him in a movie, I mean, they just kind of take over. And
John Candy, huh? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Was it too
it's,
soon?
Hey, no, I don't.
But it's just one of those kind of things, like a certain person's persona that they bring to a movie in a role when they do a role, I guess. You know?
Right. Does he live in Denver?
Yeah, the casting. Well, and that's even more. But the casting.
Another great casting. The son looks like he could be Liam Neeson's son.
Definitely, yeah. The kid
Did
looks
a great
like
job on
he
that.
could be his son. And you know what? The kid.
Spoiler alert: he wasn't in it very long.
Well, I mean, we did have to get a bunch of killing.
Yeah.
But also the casting too, because there's another kid in this movie that's involved. Basically the main bad guy's son is in this movie too, and I think this role was really well cast as well, because this kid, I mean, it's always hard 12,
with kids. Yeah, with the kids, for them to be able to be realistic. It's always a gamble.
Yeah.
Phantom Menace.
Yeah. The kid definitely brought a lot of weight to this role. I mean, that kid knocked it out of the park. Because there's actually this really nice scene in the movie, and again, it's one of those kind of scenes where like they're character building here, but there's this really great scene in the movie where the kid, or Liam Neeson, basically kidnaps this kid, the bad guy's kid, and you know, I don't think he had any bad intentions. I don't think he was going to hurt the kid in any way, but he gets into his house, you know, and he's
I thought maybe he knew that the other guys were going to get him, that the Indians were going to get him, and that's.
It could be. I mean, it's at the one point he definitely knew that because they were chasing him. They were chasing him, but he didn't know who they were really.
Right.
All he knew was
that was kind of a weak part of the plot. You don't really know why he.
All he knew was he was being chased, I guess, by a van.
Why he decided to go get the kid? That guy. Maybe I should rewatch it, and maybe there was some.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe he was going eye for an eye, maybe, and then he probably got caught up in the moment, especially when you see this moment that I'm talking about, because there's this really, really great moment with this kid where they're together, and he's trying to comfort him, you know, he's got him like hostage, basically, and he's doing what he can to comfort this kid. The kid asks him to read him a story to go to sleep, and it really turns into this cute, heart-touching moment, and you kind of realize, like, wow, this kid really kind of stole these couple of scenes right here, and then at the very end, he just laid a fat joke that, I mean, it really hits you in the heart, but it really makes it's really funny.
And the kid in the script is a very intelligent kid, but I don't think it's unrealistically intelligent. You know, sometimes they do these things where this kid is so smart, and it's just way beyond it's just way beyond the kid's years, and it wasn't like that. He was just a very bright kid.
What do they call Mary suing for guys? for kids?
Yeah,
for kids?
There's got to be a term for it. We got to look that up.
Yeah.
By the way, it got a 75% on Rotten Tomatoes, which Solo, a Star Wars story, got 70%, and Infinity War got 85%. So it's pretty accurate as far as the quality of it. I think you can usually go off of what Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, and for me personally,
I differ sometimes, but
yeah, for me personally, I don't go by Rotten Tomatoes or any of those kinds of things. I mean, just because movies, I mean, it's a subjective thing. I mean, movies, music, any of these kind of expressive mediums.
You're either right or you're wrong. Well, some people like the wrong stuff. Sorry.
Well, it could be, but I just don't go by off of what other people say, because I mean, I like to go watch movies, so I can just watch them anyway, because I watch movies. That's just what I do. I'm a film buff. And like I said, I've sat through some terrible movies before. This is not a terrible movie that you're going to sit through.
No.
You're going to enjoy yourself with this movie.
Yeah, it's not Inherent Vice. It's a good movie.
Yeah. Inherent Vice. Which one was that?
Don't ever.
Oh, man.
No, you never watched it.
I guess I'm glad
it was the only movie I about walked out of. Was it? But then the credits rolled, so I luckily didn't have to. I unfortunately had to watch the whole thing, but I didn't walk out on it. Yeah,
I did that with Dreamgirls. Was it Dreamgirls? That one with Eddie Murphy? Yeah, it was pretty rough to sit through. I didn't know it was a musical when I went to go see it.
Oh, that's not the kind of surprise I want to find out in the theater.
yeah. I almost walked out when.
Tell me that beforehand.
Yeah, I almost walked out when Jennifer Hudson and Jamie Foxx were Scream. I don't know. They were. I don't know. They were fighting. They were fighting an opera.
What you're talking about? It's probably so horrible.
But I almost walked out of that movie, and I actually stayed, and I was glad I did. I've talked about this before. One scene with Eddie Murphy is worth it in that movie. If you can watch it for free, do it. Just skip to that one scene. That's it. It's the James Brown scene.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, you'll definitely like this movie in the theaters, especially in theaters. You got to see the scenery in the theaters. It's big. It's got a huge scope to it.
Right. Yeah, that's the other thing. This Kehoe, is that where it is? Kehoe, Colorado. I don't even know if it's a real town. It is up in the mountains, and there are some establishing shots that are very beautiful.
Definitely.
That type of stuff you really want to see on a big screen.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure some of it was CG'd in there because like that hotel that they showed, like from that whiteout shot.
I was wondering about that one. There are some hotels like that in Colorado that are similar to that, but
it looked fake,
seem realistic.
But the scenery was still nice.
The hotel looked like the hotel from that Wes Anderson movie.
Now, another thing I wanted to bring up. I mean, since we're kind of telling you that this movie is a good movie, you should definitely go check it out. It's not Taken on Ice. Okay, it's not that. It is a very entertaining movie. I would say, I don't watch a whole lot of these type of flicks anymore because so many of them seem so stereotypical. And they all follow the typical tropes. But this movie was actually really good. It seemed like it was different from some of the others I've seen lately. And I would recommend going to watch
Liam
it.
is actually quite a different character in this because in Taken, he has a history of whatever it is, of being a trained badass. And this is just a guy. So,
running a snowplow
that being
business.
the thing, you don't have to, it's just like if you were just a guy that was going to go out and take care of business, you wouldn't have all these special kung fu techniques of taking out multiple opponents. And
you wouldn't have
and
a
all
special
this kind
set of
of
skills.
Yeah, you would... a special set, but you wouldn't have all that at your disposal. So it makes it easier to make it, I think, realistic when it's not some, special agent that's been trained to kill you in 25 different ways with a pencil.
Definitely. Well, because that would actually even ruin the part where he actually hires the hitman, and that's another thing.
Just gonna tell him the whole plot or what?
Well, I mean, what kind of a gangster movie are we watching without a hitman, right? But yeah, aside from that, the fact is you should go out to the theater and watch this movie. But another thing that I wanted to bring up, and I just wanted to touch on this last because it's nothing I ever really care about talking about, especially because it's just nothing I really care about, and especially in movies. That's what movies are all there for. You put what you win in the movie just for different reasons, and some people do it in the wrong way.
Yeah. It's entertainment.
Some people do it in the wrong way, and it's got to be done in a good and entertaining way. And when you put things into a good context into a movie, it doesn't take you out of the movie. And when you see it in movies, and I'm talking about identity politics here, okay?
A little bit.
When it's done wrong, it's kind of off-putting. And this movie does a lot of that.
Rose.
Yeah.
General Holdo.
This movie does a lot of that. But it's all done in the right way, and a lot of it plays into the plot.
I didn't catch that they were trying to preach either. They said a few sort of off-color jokes about various races, and that was it. It wasn't. I don't think they were trying to preach one way or another. Of course, obviously, since it was a movie, it was okay to say bad things about white people, but only the bad guys said bad things about the other races. Kind of a little bit of a subtle. Yeah. It was messaging there, but I don't think there was any kind of.
It wasn't anything that took you out of the movie.
Kind of plan to say any kind of social justice.
Yeah.
Shit. It's just like, hey, they said some racial slurs because they're dealing with.
Everybody's jerks here.
The white people versus the Indians, and then there's a black guy in there, and they're the bad guys. So of course, if you've seen Reservoir Dogs, that's how they talk.
There's a wife too, the Asian wife.
Oh yeah.
Okay. They nailed the Asian wife in this movie. Hilarious.
They did a bitchy Asian wife very well.
Yeah, and it was great the way they did it too, because I mean, it almost seems stereotypical, but like if you see, it was just really done really well. They didn't try to dwell on anything. They were just out there having fun, and that's what the movie was. It was fun.
She was just kind of a rough. She was lovable though, lovable at the same time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Lovable, but very rough around the edges. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that was definitely a good high point about the movie. I mean, none of the overtop kind of things, because. It seems like a lot of the times in these movies when they try to do these kind of things, they're digging into one person or the other. Or just they usually play too much into the identity politics. And while they did some of that here, it was really well done, and it serves the story. It doesn't take away from it.
they weren't trying to say a narrative of saying that white guy bad, black guy good,
right?
Poor Indians or anything like that.
Yeah, no.
They which you would expect. They always got to throw that in there. If they're gonna say anything about, it's got to be that narrative. But it wasn't in there.
They actually tossed in a couple of funny jokes about it too, like when some of these people go to check into a hotel.
Right.
The hotel check-in scene that actually had me cracking up.
Yeah.
Especially because it seemed like the guy played into it. It seemed like he was playing.
He was milking it.
He was milking it, but it seemed like he was kind of playing into it too. It was funny.
Yeah,
it was funny.
A lot of winking going on.
Yeah.
So go watch it.
Definitely go check this movie out in theaters. Cold Pursuit. Not a huge.
I watched Commuter, by the way. I watched Commuter, Liam Neeson's previous movie, a few nights ago. It's much better than this.
Kind of warm yourself up for the.
Cold Pursuit is much better than the Commuter. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say I haven't seen that. I mean, to me, it kind of looked like Speed on a train, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
It's decent for what it is, but it's not as good as Cold Pursuit.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. So I guess I'm not gonna watch that Liam Neeson movie then. No, I'll still check it out. I'll check it out still.
Watch it too, but watch this one more.
Yes, definitely watch this one. Like I said, I don't think it's too cheesy. It's definitely everything is done in the right way. It's not too action oriented. It's not like too over the top with those kinds of things. It's like I said, it was a really well written and well grounded movie. Plenty of elements in it.
Not a lot of car chases or anything like that.
Nothing crazy.
There's one kind of car chase, but
yeah, that one was pretty good. But that's all I've really got for today. Make sure you're subscribed. Click the little bell so you get notifications. It's over here somewhere. Anytime that we have uploaded new content. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you tell your friends to come check out this review here. And hopefully we didn't spoil it to them. Have a good day.
Yeah.